Hi guys, Dave here and welcome back to the channel. Huge news out in the Pokemon community today, particularly here in the UK. Ace grading has been announced. That's right, Randolph Pokemon has officially announced the big secret that's been out in the community recently that he has started a grading service. This video is basically going to be a very quick reaction to that video. Basically, if you haven't seen the video already, quick summary, we're going to cover pricing, grading, cases, and finally labels. So straight off the bat then, before we get any further, I am absolutely not an expert when it comes to grading. I have many PSA cards and I'll continue to collect graded cards. I've never ever gone with Beckett, CGC or anyone else. I've always been with PSA and that has been the case the last 4 years or so. That being said, I think it'd be really good fun to have a little look at what Randolph Pokemon is offering with Ace grading. I thought it'd be really quite fun to actually just have a look at Ace grading and see what they're going to be all about. So starting with pricing then, Randolph was very reserved, I thought, in his video, in that he didn't want to give too much away and offer too much straight from day one. It's not even day one yet, they're not even live, so I thought it was quite good with the information he did want to share. So he basically confirmed that there's going to be 2 pricing services available from day one. That'll be £10 for bulk services, which are limited to 60 cards with an estimated turnaround of 60 days. And then a £15 pricing service, which again is bulk service, limited to 60 with an estimated turnaround of 30 days. I think pre-warning here with this is effectively don't judge them too hard if you know their estimated turnaround is 60 days and straight off the bat they can't handle it. By the sounds of his video and the information he did provide, it does sound like they are doing a very sort of revolving door policy where it's a case of, you know, if they hit their limits of what they can handle and stick to for 60 days, they're going to cut it off and hold fire until they can actually get those sorted and then open it again. I think this is a really great idea. I'm all for this. My only concern is because of how popular Randolph is, because of how popular Pokemon is in the UK, and how we always struggle to get graded cards over from the US. My concern is their website is always going to be closed. If you're not always on the money, you're not always on the dot, and until they can actually expand their services and their workforce to a capacity that's actually reasonable compared to others around them, it's going to be really difficult to judge the right times to go on and actually put your cards on. This is all being said, you know, without any extra information. It's not even gone live, so this is just my initial thoughts on that particular situation. With the prices themselves, I think they're really reasonable. You know, they're effectively matching what PSA were doing initially with, you know, broadly £10 per card, or particularly if you went with graded gem. And again, they're £15 per card. It's not quite far off their $20 pricing right now. I think it's more than reasonable, but I do think it's a little early to say whether or not that's good value for money because it's not started yet. But first thoughts, can't complain. Next up then, it is the grading of the cards themselves. So again, I really like the fact that he basically made it very clear that from day dot, they're just going to focus on Pokemon cards. That is their initial priority. I love that. That's what they're all about when it comes to their hobbies and their collections, which I absolutely love. So I'm all for that. That's great. It's a really good starting point to have. And I also think very positive news is that they're not going to have point grades. So 8.5, 9.5. I think that's going to be a very popular decision with the community. I know for me personally, I can't stand it if I ever get a 0.5 grade. I've only ever had one, and there's no logic to having that middle grade. It's either an 8, 9, 10. You know, there's no need for an 8.5. Just give me the 8 and move on. It's not needed. There was a lot of talk in the video about what you can expect as a consumer, particularly around the service level you can expect. You know, the quality control, the customer service, all that kind of lovely stuff that, you know, you'd expect from a brand new company. This is not just necessarily knock the video, but it was very sales-like. And truth be told, that is totally understandable. You know, it's a brand new company, brand new passion of his. So of course he's going to go out there straight off the bat with his first video and sell this thing to every corner of the world. And that's exactly what you should be doing. So there's nothing wrong with that. It was just there was so many descriptive words on what you can expect. It was just hard to get any actual information as to what we should expect when it comes to the the steps in the grading service, the steps in the service that you're going to receive, and all that fun stuff around it as, while you're waiting for your cards, how are you dealt with. No good points or bad points from that. It's just, it was hard to actually ascertain anything. But that being said, going back to the grading points, they're really positive. Moving on to cases then, point 3 of the summary that I'm doing in this video. The only information that I already got outside of some of the pictures that I'll put up on the screen now, he basically made it quite clear that the cases they're gone for will be slightly thicker than other cases that you'll see from PSA or Beckett, or particularly CJC, which are never any good. There's nothing too wrong with that, but it is really hard to justify or compare without actually having it in your hand a PSA slab. My overall general thoughts when it comes to cases is it's real simple. If it's very, very thin, it gives off that effect. It's not quite best of build quality, it's not quite as good of a hold in your hand. It's mainly only good for actual storage of a considerable amount of cards. When it comes to a slightly thicker case, it's hard to tell because I've not necessarily had one that's quite bulky. My understanding is the hit cases tend to be a little bit bigger, but I don't actually own any of those. But my thought would be they will look very good from a display standpoint. They look really great, really big, really proud, really transparent, fantastic looking. Again, when it comes to actual storing of the cards, if you've got 50, 100, 200, 500,000, it does rack up the amount of space you end up using. So it'll be interesting to see what they look like and what they feel like. I'm all for change. I'm not one of those guys who's, PSA for life. I'm very excited that we're going to have another UK grading company. There's absolutely nothing wrong with competition. We should be able to have as many as we like and then get to choose who our favourites are and what we want to use. So that's great. So it's the same with the cases here. There's nothing too much to say here until you actually see them yourself, get a real feel for them and a real look for them. It's a little hard to tell. Okay, the final point then, labels. This is going to be probably the one opinion that I have that is probably going to go against the grain of everybody else in the community, particularly, diehard Randolph fans, which I like to think I'm a good Randolph fan, but I'm not overly sold on the labels. So just a quick summary before I go any further. There are going to be 3 labels available from what Randolph said. There will be a standard label, a colour match label, or an elusive ace graded label. So, there'll be pictures on the screen of all 3, and you can make your own decision up on them. They all look fantastic. I've got no problem with how they look. They look far better than any other label that's currently out there. You've got the very weird looking get graded labels. That's just my opinion. That's not a disrespectful in any way. It's just how I perceive the get graded labels. You got a PSA, very, very bland with the white label and the simple red border. CGC, yeah, it's okay, but it's not the best of blue quality colours. Then you've got the Beckett, which are probably the best around for the current market with regard to their label look, particularly when you get to that pristine 10. That kind of sort of upper level looks really quite great. My problem that I have with labels, which could well change, I could eat my words here, I could get some of these labels and go, you know what, I was completely wrong. My first initial thoughts here are, I hate the fact that I can pick between 3. Sounds crazy, right? My thought here is, being a collector and having quite a big collection of PSA cards, my love about having graded cards is the fact that they look exactly the same, which is probably completely opposite to what anyone else thinks when they think of a graded card. My view is that I want all the labels to look exactly the same. What makes the cards stand out when they're graded is the actual card. That's what draws your attention. So the fact that I'll be able to potentially pick between 3, I feel like I wouldn't want 3 types or 2 types. Don't get me wrong, I know to get around this, I could just pick just one of them and just go with that all the way. You're absolutely right if you're sitting there thinking that. The downside to that is value. So don't get me wrong, I'm a collector first and foremost, but everybody sells cards and everybody cares about the value of their cards. It's just one of those things. It just comes with the hobby. So for me, looking at those 3 labels, there's no doubt in my mind that the elusive ace graded version is without a doubt the best looking. It looks fantastic. Honestly, top work with it. I think it looks great. My concern is if there is a additional cost to get that label. There may not be, it hasn't been confirmed in the video, so I'm just spitballing here. It makes sense to because it's the best looking grade. If there is that additional cost to get it, my worry is a PSA 10 with that label and a PSA 10 with colour matched or the standard label just won't be as valuable because the best looking label with the best grade. Again, if you send a card thinking it's it's going to get a Ace 10 or Gem Mint 10, whatever they're going to call it, and it comes back a 7 or an 8, particularly if you don't know cards all that well, my opinion would be I'd be really disappointed to have that top premium label with a 10. Again, it could be a case of only 10s can get that label. I don't know. It's very early in the day here, and I am just spitballing my initial thoughts. But I have a real concern with the fact that value could be attributed to certain labels. And again, that middle tier or that second option of the colour match labels, I think that's fantastic. They look great, but I personally wouldn't want to pay extra 50p a pound, whatever it is, if there is that additional cost for that label just to get a red label or a blue label. And if I was to do that, I'd hate the fact that I open my drawer and I see all the different colours, which is probably going to be completely opposite everyone's opinion on this. And I know that sounds crazy. I'm just weird like that. I'm very OCD in the fact that I like everything to look exactly the same. It's just simple to me. It also means that the grade alone is what the value is attributed to, not the label. I feel like the label is more of like the authentication part. That's great. That's what you want to say, yeah, it's legitimate. Whereas the card itself is the thing that makes it pop out, and it's the grade itself that makes it valuable. Quick thoughts on the end then, just to summarise. My overall feeling is I'm absolutely all for this ace grading service. It's lovely that there's another UK company popping up. There's plenty of them already out there. My overall feeling is that because of the label situation, because of they're going to be brand new, I'm not a very risk-seeking person. I'm very risk-averse. And so I definitely, in the first year of their business, won't send any of my top valuable cards there to get graded. It's not knocking Randolph or the guys that are involved in this. It's just the fact that I like the fact that all my levels are the same. I like the fact that, I'm going with a company like PSA, or let's be face it, for me it's just PSA, have that 30 years of experience behind them. They have that premium quality to them already, that premium history. And so I feel it's far safer for me if I am looking to do an investment in a card rather than just collect the card, that I'm effectively sort of guaranteeing that it's okay at the value it's at. That being said though, I absolutely will use ace grading. There's no question about it. The main two reasons are, firstly, they're in the UK and it's being done by someone that's on social media, relatively trustworthy because of his history in the hobby. And he's very much able to get hold of him. He's on every platform you can imagine. So it's not like we don't know who this mystery man is who owns this company. So absolutely for that. The second reason is, don't get me wrong, I love the look of the labels, and what I intend to be doing and how I'll be using ace grading for is to get selective cards like maybe my Lapras collection to get graded, to have maybe colour matching, to get them all in the blue labels, because I don't own those Lapras cards because they're valuable. It's because that's my passion. It's my favourite Pokemon. So that's probably what I'll be using ace grading for, not so much for value. Again, that being said, I could be eating my words here. In 6 months' time, a year's time, 5 years' time, who knows when, I may sit here and go, oh man, I wish I'd put all my cards there from day dot, because the value here in the UK is ridiculous. Anyway, guys, that's enough from me today. Thank you so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. Please bear in mind, these were just my opinions. Don't be too hard on me, but I'd love to get some feedback in the comments to see what you guys all think. And with that being said, guys, I'll see you next time. See ya.